Welcome to Subramani. One question which many people keep asking is should I de risk my portfolio? Let us first understand the concept of risk. When you are talking of de risking of your portfolio, you largely mean should I shift from equity to debt because you think equity is riskier than debt. That is not always true. In the long run, debt is far riskier than equity, especially in a world where every in central bank is trying to compete with each other in reducing interest rates. Correct, I am talking about it at a wrong time perhaps because interest rates have started to go up. We are more in a rising interest rate scenario. At this time, should you be de-risking, means should you be selling equity and buying more debt? I really don't know, but I can tell you one thing: how you should behave if you are a 20-year-old and how should you behave if you are an 80-year-old can't be the same, right? So let us say you are investing, you have no goals, you are 40 years of age, you are a bachelor, you have decided not to get married, so your parents are not dependent on you, you have no siblings, or you have one sibling who is married, settled down. Given these circumstances, it's very different from a 67-year-old who has got dependent children and who has had late children, or maybe, or for whatever reasons, he has got children dependent on him and he has a limited amount of money and which has to last him maybe another 20-25 years. Then that these two people are not comparable as to who should take risk and who should not take risk, so who should de-risk. So one thing is very clear: it does not matter whether you're in your 20s, 30s, or 40s, but if you have some goals which have to be met within the next 10 years, then you have to do a tactical reallocation. You might want to get away from equity into debt because you need that money after 2 years, 3 years, maybe even after 5 years. So the money that you need after 5 years, you may remove 60-70% of that and put it into debt instruments, and another 30% you may let it remain in equity, saying if there is an upside, let me get it. But you know that the 70% which you have put will anyway grow to the amount of goal that you have in mind, right? So if you have that clarity about your goals, if you know when you want the money, then it makes sense for you to decide whether to de-risk or not de-risk. And if your retirement is 10 years away and you're saving only for retirement, like that 40-year-old, then there is no reason for you to sell off some equity and buy debt and things like that. Maybe it will look like a great decision in 3 months, but it may look like a disastrous decision in 6 months, or a terrible decision after 5 years, right? So you don't know unless you have specific reason for that money, or overall you're not very happy. You are not very happy that your portfolio fluctuates so much. You don't want that. You want less variability in your portfolio. Like I said, a 40-year-old having inherited some money and having and doing very well and having no siblings, no children, no marriage, right? Then that person, you have to take a call based on your own requirement, right? So you have no requirement, then you might as well be in equity. The other way to look at it is to say, why should I be in equity? Let me keep my money in debt. I will have lesser stress because anyway I don't need it to grow. I don't have anybody to whom I have to hand it over and go. When I go, I'll go empty-handed, and whatever happens to the rest of my portfolio, I actually don't care a damn. I'm a bachelor and I'm a loner, right? I'm a spinster, or I'm a bachelor. I have decided not to get married, so my outlook is very different from what other people have as their outlook. So whether you should sell equity, buy debt, I don't know. But there are certain things which I wish the industry were to take up with the government. For example, if I have a house, let's say I have a house worth 50 lakhs, which I am, or rather, I bought a house for 50 lakhs, which is now worth 80 lakhs. I sell it off, and that 80 lakhs I reinvest in another house for 80 lakhs. I pay no tax. I'm not getting into whether this is right, whether this is wrong, whether this is what happens, right? This is what technically this is only for one house, but people are claiming it, and there is no problem. So this is a part. But suppose I have invested in my wife's name, or suppose I have invested in my name in a single name with my wife as a nominee. Now I want to make it either or survivor. I want to include my wife's name in the portfolio, or in the folio in which I have investment. I can't do it. So what do I have to do? I have to redeem and reinvest. Now this is okay. This was okay. You only had to pay the STT. or the securities transaction tax for doing it, because equity was exempt from tax totally. Now there is a 10% exit load. So just imagine what happens. I have 1 crore, I have say 50 lakhs invested, that has become 1 crore. Unfortunately, it was in a single name. Now I want to add my wife's name. Now there is no gain that I am doing, but yes, there is a transfer of capital asset. It is going from my name to a joint name. Technically, it means now it belongs to me and my wife. So yes, theoretically speaking, there is a change in ownership, but having to pay 10% tax for doing that, or 10% capital gains tax for doing that, makes no sense. So if something can be done, the urge is, this is another way of de-risking your portfolio, making sure that the documentation is right, all the documents are in place. That is again de-risking your portfolio. What is the risk there? The risk is, if your family cannot get the money that you have when they need it, and if they get it after 20 years because they fought in the court, etc., it's not worth it. So completing your documentation and making sure that your family knows that you have completed your documentation and your documentation is perfectly all right, that is again de-risking your portfolio. Actually, the whole exercise should be, go back to your goal statement, see what are your goals, see which are the goals for which you already have the money. Let us say you have your daughter's education coming up in 2028 and you require 2 crores. Right now, in the funds which you have earmarked, let's say you have earmarked 3 funds, you have 1 crore 30 lakhs or 1 crore 40 lakhs lying there, and you calculate that over the next 3 years, even if you were to get just 5% return or 6% return, you will still reach your target figure, and your SIPs are anyway continuing, so you are putting a bigger amount, and so the rate of interest won't matter. I would say it is a great time to be removing money in 2022 itself partially and putting it into debt, because you don't want to run the risk of having all the money in equity in 2027 and not being able to withdraw because the markets are down. So start doing a systematic withdrawal plan, shift from equity to debt. Yes, but again, this is not equity to debt just because the market is up or market is down or Ukraine has been invaded by Russia. This is because of your goals. So whenever you are de-risking or you are changing your asset allocation for whatever reason, go back to your goals, do your risk profiling, and risk profiling can change. Risk profiling is a function of total amount of money that you have. Let us say you were a very senior executive in a company, the company decided to leave India and just as a compensation gave you about say 6 crores, and you are just 44 years of age. Maybe you have enough money now to retire, but you need to know how to manage your money well, and you have got this money now and you want to immediately deploy it in equity, and your advisor says no, now not equity, we'll put more in debt and we will slowly come into equity because the markets are high. He could be right or you could be right, and if you are right, the chances are you will curse your broker or your advisor from saying you did not tell me the right things. So find out what are your goals. Make sure that your portfolio is well in sync with that. That is more important. You are not. So I could be telling one person that you should sell equity and buy debt, and I could be telling somebody else you have too much debt, so you should move from bank deposits to ultra short bond fund, and maybe we can do a systematic transfer into equity. So same situation, but different people, different portfolios, different answers, right? So that's very important. You see what the person wants, what the person puts resources to it, and then if you want to win an Olympic medal, you should start very young, you should train very hard, and then you stand some chance, right? Thank you.